Hey everybody, it's BATJAC JW coming back to you right here at the Collector's Corner, and this time around we have something that some people just say, well, that's just a plain Jane. What's so special about it? Why would this make it to the Collector's Corner? And we're talking about the old school Colt government model Series 70, the Mark IV, and this is the plain Jane model. Why would this make it to the Collector's Corner? Well, we'll talk about that. In my opinion, these have suffered that time where they were coming out and people were more obsessed with getting something souped up, as we say. They wanted the high ride beaver tail, different size. So a lot of these went to the cannon fodder of being hacked to pieces. But you know, what would they matter? They were a dime a dozen. They were everywhere, and they still kind of are, but I noticed over time that it's easier to find one that has been altered than so much of the one like this where it's untouched. Nothing has happened to it. Nobody got to it with all the gunsmithing tools and start working on it. So, and usually now when you see these, they command a pretty high price, a premium. So depending on where you're at. All right. Now, what are they? These are pretty much commercial guns as they've grown over in time. The early days of commercial guns and whatnot, what have you. Now the old government 1911 A1s like this, okay. And you can see here they're pretty much got the when they started doing the arch mainspring housing, short trigger and everything. Which that's why I really like these, because they have all those features. That's what they are. That's really cool. And so they didn't want to call these like the military A1 or anything like that. So they were known as the commercial guns, the government model or whatnot. So like here you have another. This is a commercial gun. You can see the beautiful finish. It's got still the standard features and everything. This is kind of a transitional one because this is a 1930, but it's going to have the beautiful finish and everything that the old Warhorse does not have. The Parkerized finish and everything, but it was sent overseas to help us with freedom. All right, so now back to the old Series 70. Some of the things about it, there's a lot of people. Some people like them, some people don't. It does get a lot of reputation. It carries a lot more weight on its belt than I always say. It's a Tank Murdoch 1911. Really, those of you that know that reference, you'll probably get what I'm talking about. But anyway, here's the thing. The barrel has a bushing on it. It's a collet barrel bushing. This is what makes it a Series 70. All right, it's this barrel bushing with these fingers on it, these collet barrel bushings. And that's what they did to help lock it up into place. So when it went into full battery, you can see it gripped that barrel really tight, and it helped with the accuracy. You can see they started to polish out the barrel hoods and mark them. Colt 45 Auto, Mark IV, Series 70. They start marking that all over these things. Now, the other thing is the stampings. This is my gripe with these things. It's very difficult to find some of them. At least for me, I've seen a lot more where the stampings are washed out. And you start to get to the end here and the stampings are just washed out. It's not so much that somebody had taken a polishing wheel and refinished it. This is exactly the way it came from the factory, which is quite sad. Now, some people, they don't like the way this looks. It's kind of like a billboard writing on it, Colt's Mark IV. And I think what it is so much, it's not that. It's the way, it's the font and the letter size that they used. I think that's what's going on there, because if you look back at, say, like the commercial gun here again, now look at that. Really nice. But that's because the font is different and the letter sizing is different. Now with these, there's so many different ones. There's ones that they call the large letter and small letter, if you hear that being tossed around. And that's referring to right here. Colt's government model and the size of the lettering right there. And some of them you'll see with the smaller lettering. and that means I believe it's a later 70s gun. This one here I believe is 1975, I believe, and I think we got another one here. It's from 1972 or 73. It was a little bit older, but anyway, you can always tell too. There's some serial numbers that will prefix 70 on them. All right, there's some of those that are a little bit different. I'm just sharing with you some of the things that I have picked up over time and everything. So, and then they always had that nickel or matte nickel trigger, short trigger, and a sided hammer, meaning they polish the sides of that hammer, the spur. But so a lot of these went to the, they got hacked up. They definitely got changed around, put the sights off. You can see the sights were nothing really great to begin with. So a lot of people wanted to change those sights out. And this sight, the front sight especially, is staked in. So meaning that the metal is, they push it and squeeze it together, and they kind of peen the metal, and it's staked in now. So some, you'll see they remove that and they staked in a different sight, or altogether they cut this out for a dovetail sight, and there you have more guns that have been altered permanently, and now you can't restore them if you wanted to back to a configuration like this. Colt has since then also went back and offered a gun called the it's kind of a hybrid gun, you could say, between the Series 70 and the pre-Series 70. It's a pre-Series 70 in the wayside of the roll marks, but it has the updated sights where they're a little bit larger and everything. This one here had a few things changed around to kind of mimic that one a little bit more, like the arch mainspring housing, the hammer and trigger and whatnot. But anyway, these are kind of cool because they fell into that collector's market, I think. I really do. I've seen them pop up in shows, shops and whatnot, and they command some money especially when they're like this. They command some serious coin now, a little bit more than I think we're used to seeing. And now they kind of broke into the different market. I think they're more along the lines of the 1200 to the 1800 that I've been seeing, which I think is a little crazy, but there you have it. That's some of the things that happen. The market just does that and takes off with them. Since I've kind of looked into them myself, they've jumped up in a few $100. That's crazy. But anyway, there you are, a little special here on the Collector's Corner. We talked about it. Of course, somebody will chime in on what they know about it and everything. I definitely am no expert on them, but I just some of the things that I picked up over the times of checking them out and looking at them and everything. So, and then after that, obviously, went to the Series 80, where what they did was they did away with the finger collet bushings, and then they went to a firing pin stop block that they inserted in here, and then they added some levers inside the frame. And a lot of people fret about that because they say it adds to the trigger pull and whatnot, and you don't. So that's mainly what's going on there. There's been a lot of people that they were leery about this finger groove bushing because these things will bust off, they say, and then jam up your gun. Is it a possibility? Yeah, it definitely is possible. I've not seen one yet like that, but then again, I'm not been around, checking every single one that ever comes across the collector's table or anything like that. So, but anyway, there you are. Hopefully, you enjoyed the episode here of Collector's Corner, where we featured something yet pretty plain Jane, but in a sense, it's kind of making its way to the collector's market because most of them are getting scarce to find, and a lot of them were kind of cut up to pieces. Not saying that they didn't make a ton of these. Can you still go out and find one today? Yes, absolutely. But bring your wallet, right? Thanks for tuning in to the Collector's Corner.